Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, complaining is a habit that drains time, energy, and mental clarity. It offers no solution, no progress, and no real benefit, yet it often becomes the default response to difficulties. When we complain, we are essentially acknowledging our dissatisfaction without making any effort to change the situation. This is not only unproductive but also harmful, as it reinforces a mindset of helplessness. If we want to stop wasting time and live a more meaningful life, we must shift our focus from complaints to action. At its core, complaining stems from an unwillingness to accept reality as it is. We find ourselves frustrated with circumstances that do not align with our expectations, so we vocalize our dissatisfaction, hoping that somehow the mere act of expressing our displeasure will bring relief. However, relief is temporary and the problem remains. What is even worse is that repeated complaining strengthens the habit of externalizing responsibility. Instead of looking inward and seeking ways to adapt, change, or overcome, we focus on everything outside our control: other people, the government, the weather, or fate itself. The first step in overcoming this habit is to recognize the cost of complaining. It eats away at time, which is the most valuable resource we have. Every minute spent voicing grievances is a minute that could have been used to solve a problem, develop a skill, or take meaningful action. If we truly understood how finite and irreplaceable time is, we would be more mindful of how we spend it. Complaining does not improve our circumstances, and it certainly does not move us closer to our goals. If anything, it traps us in a cycle of frustration and inaction. Moreover, constant complaining affects not only our mindset but also our relationships. People who frequently complain are often avoided because they bring negativity into conversations. Few things are more exhausting than listening to someone list their grievances without any attempt to change or address them. Instead of earning respect, chronic complainers lose credibility. Their words become noise rather than wisdom. The world respects doers, not those who sit idly and lament their misfortunes. Taking action, on the other hand, is the antidote to complaining. Action does not mean reckless movement, but rather an intentional effort to either improve a situation or accept it fully. If something bothers us, we have two choices: we can change it, or we can learn to live with it. If it is within our control, complaining is unnecessary because we can take steps to fix it. If it is outside our control, complaining is still unnecessary because our energy would be better spent on acceptance and adaptation. Either way, there is no logical reason to complain. To break the habit of complaining, we must cultivate self-awareness. The moment we catch ourselves about to complain, we should pause and ask, is this something I can change? If the answer is yes, then the next step is to formulate a plan and take the first step. If the answer is no, then the only rational choice is to let go. This practice alone can transform our mindset and help us reclaim control over our time and energy. Another useful approach is to focus on solutions rather than problems. Instead of saying, "I hate my job," we should ask, "What steps can I take to improve my situation?" Instead of saying, "This is unfair," we should think, "How can I adapt and make the best of it?" Shifting our perspective in this way not only prevents wasted energy, but also fosters resilience. The world does not cater to our desires, and setbacks are inevitable. What defines us is how we respond to them. It is also important to surround ourselves with people who have a proactive mindset. If we spend time with chronic complainers, their negativity will inevitably influence us. However, if we engage with individuals who take responsibility for their lives, we will be inspired to do the same. Their example serves as a reminder that our time is too valuable to be spent in idle frustration. Another factor to consider is gratitude. When we focus on what we lack, we become more prone to complaining. But when we shift our attention to what we have, we realize that many of our complaints are trivial. Gratitude does not mean ignoring problems, it means putting them into perspective. By appreciating what is good in our lives, we cultivate a mindset that prioritizes action over complaint. In addition to gratitude, discipline plays a crucial role. The habit of complaining is easy because it requires no effort. Action, however, demands discipline. It requires us to push beyond frustration and take responsibility. This is not always comfortable, but it is necessary. Just as a weak body becomes stronger through exercise, a weak mind becomes resilient through action. Every time we choose to act instead of complain, we strengthen our ability to face challenges with courage. Lastly, we must acknowledge that life is unpredictable. No matter how much we plan or prepare, unexpected obstacles will arise. Complaining will never shield us from hardship, but action can help us navigate through it. The only way to build a meaningful and productive life is to stop wasting time on what cannot be changed and focus instead on what we can control. Life is often complicated not because it has to be, but because we allow unnecessary distractions, obligations, and burdens to clutter our time and energy. We say yes to commitments we do not truly care about, we keep relationships that drain us, and we spend countless hours on activities that bring no real value to our lives. Cutting out the unnecessary is not about doing less for the sake of laziness, it is about making space for what truly matters. Every moment spent on something trivial is a moment taken away from something meaningful. If we wish to stop wasting time, we must learn to eliminate what does not serve us. One of the greatest sources of wasted time is mindless consumption. People spend hours scrolling through social media, watching meaningless content, or engaging in conversations that add nothing to their growth. While some forms of entertainment can be relaxing and even necessary, there is a fine line between intentional rest and aimless distraction. The problem arises when these habits become automatic, when we reach for our phones without thinking, when we turn on the television without a purpose, when we allow our attention to be controlled by whatever is easiest to consume. Cutting out unnecessary consumption means becoming more intentional with what we allow into our minds. It means choosing to read something that enriches us instead of endlessly refreshing a news feed. It means watching something inspiring rather than something that numbs the mind. It means spending less time reacting to what is placed in front of us and more time actively choosing what deserves our focus. Another area where the unnecessary accumulates is in our commitments. Many people feel overwhelmed, not because they have too much to do, but because they have said yes to too many things that do not align with their priorities. They agree to meetings that serve no purpose, attend events they have no interest in, and engage in obligations that drain them. This happens because of a fear of disappointing others or because of an inability to say no. But every unnecessary commitment is a burden on time and energy. The more we take on things that do not matter to us, the less time we have for what does. Cutting out the unnecessary means becoming more selective with what we commit to. It requires asking, does this contribute to the life I want to live? If the answer is no, then saying yes is not an act of kindness or responsibility, it is an act of self-betrayal. Freeing ourselves from unnecessary obligations allows us to dedicate more time to meaningful work, relationships, and self-improvement. Beyond commitments, unnecessary relationships can also be a major source of wasted time and emotional energy. People often hold on to friendships or connections that have long since stopped serving them, out of habit, guilt, or fear of loneliness. But relationships should add to our lives, not drain them. If an interaction leaves us feeling exhausted, uninspired, or emotionally drained every time, then it is worth questioning why we continue engaging in it. There is no obligation to maintain relationships that no longer align with who we are becoming. Cutting out toxic or one-sided relationships does not mean we are cruel or selfish. It means we respect ourselves enough to surround ourselves with people who uplift rather than deplete us. When we free ourselves from unnecessary relationships, we create space for deeper, more fulfilling connections with those who truly matter. Physical clutter is another source of unnecessary distraction. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. Many people hold on to possessions they do not need, thinking that one day they might use them, or they attach sentimental value to objects that no longer serve a purpose. But the more physical clutter we accumulate, the more it weighs on us. It demands space, attention, and maintenance. Simplifying our surroundings by keeping only what is useful or meaningful creates a sense of clarity and calm. Living with fewer unnecessary possessions means spending less time cleaning, organizing, and searching for things, and more time focusing on what truly adds value to our lives. Emotional baggage also falls into the category of unnecessary burdens. People carry resentment, grudges, and regrets that serve no purpose other than to weigh them down. Holding on to past mistakes or the wrongdoings of others does not change the past, it only consumes energy that could be used for growth and self-improvement. Cutting out the unnecessary means letting go of emotional burdens that no longer serve us. Forgiveness is not about excusing others, it is about freeing ourselves from the chains of resentment. Moving forward requires releasing what no longer contributes to our well-being. A major obstacle to eliminating the unnecessary is the illusion that we are being productive when we are merely busy. Many people mistake motion for progress. They fill their days with tasks, emails, and errands, yet accomplish little of true importance. They feel exhausted at the end of the day but have made no real progress toward their goals. True productivity is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters. Cutting out unnecessary work means prioritizing what truly moves us forward. It means focusing on tasks that have real impact rather than those that simply keep us occupied. It requires recognizing that some things are simply distractions disguised as responsibilities. Fear is another reason people hold on to the unnecessary. They fear missing out, so they keep saying yes to everything. They fear judgment, so they maintain appearances that do not reflect who they truly are. They fear change, so they cling to habits and routines that no longer serve them. But fear is not a valid reason to waste time. The more we allow fear to dictate our choices, the more we delay the life we are meant to live. Cutting out the unnecessary requires courage, the courage to say no, to let go, to simplify, and to trust that we do not need excess to live fully. Every day we are given a limited amount of time and energy. How we use it determines the quality of our lives. If we fill our days with distractions, unnecessary commitments, and burdens, we will always feel like there is never enough time. But if we strip away what does not matter, we will find that we have more than enough time for what truly does. Cutting out the unnecessary is not about deprivation, it is about making space for meaning, clarity, and purpose. The less we carry, the freer we become. Your mind is the lens through which you experience life. It shapes your thoughts, emotions, and actions, determining whether you live with clarity or confusion, strength or weakness, purpose or distraction. If you lack control over your mind, you will be a slave to external circumstances, reacting impulsively to events, swayed by emotions, and controlled by fleeting desires. But if you master your mind, you master your life. Every decision, every action, and every outcome is influenced by the way you think. The key to fulfillment, peace, and success lies not in changing the outside world, but in training your mind to navigate it with wisdom and discipline. Most people allow their minds to be controlled by external forces, social media, news, opinions, fears, and desires they never consciously chose. They react impulsively to everything that happens, allowing their emotions to dictate their actions. A single negative comment ruins their day. A minor setback makes them lose confidence. A fleeting craving leads them to make choices that go against their long-term goals. This is a life without control, a life dictated by circumstances rather than intention. When the mind is undisciplined, it jumps from one thought to another, constantly distracted, constantly seeking short-term gratification, while neglecting what truly matters. True freedom comes when you take control of your thoughts. Instead of reacting, you respond with intention. Instead of being led by fear, you act with courage. Instead of seeking external validation, you find strength within yourself. This does not happen by chance, it happens through conscious effort, through training the mind to focus on what is important, to resist what is harmful, and to endure what is difficult. Just as the body must be trained to become strong, the mind must be disciplined to gain clarity and resilience. Without training, it remains weak, easily swayed by every passing emotion and external influence. One of the greatest obstacles to controlling the mind is distraction. In a world filled with endless notifications, entertainment, and noise, focus has become rare. People struggle to sit in silence, to think deeply, or to work on something without constantly checking their phones. Distraction weakens the mind, making it restless and unable to concentrate on what truly matters. A scattered mind leads to scattered actions and a life without direction. To control your mind, you must learn to eliminate unnecessary distractions. This means setting boundaries with technology, being intentional with how you consume information, and learning to sit with your thoughts without seeking constant stimulation. Another challenge is negative thinking. The mind, if left unchecked, tends to focus on problems, doubts, and fears. It creates worst-case scenarios, magnifies small setbacks, and fills the present moment with unnecessary worry about the future or regret about the past. When you believe every negative thought your mind generates, you become trapped in self-doubt and hesitation. But when you recognize that thoughts are not facts, that you have the power to question and reframe them, you regain control. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," you ask, "How can I overcome this?" Instead of dwelling on failure, you learn from it and move forward. The way you think determines the way you live, and training the mind to replace negativity with perspective is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Emotional control is another essential aspect of mastering the mind. Many people believe that emotions should dictate actions, that anger justifies lashing out, that sadness means giving up, that fear means avoiding challenges. But emotions are merely signals. They should be acknowledged, but not blindly obeyed. When you control your mind, you learn to observe emotions without being ruled by them. You feel anger but choose patience. You feel fear but choose courage. You feel sadness but continue moving forward. Mastery of the mind does not mean suppressing emotions, but rather understanding them, using them as information, and making decisions based on reason rather than impulse. The mind is also shaped by the habits and routines you follow daily. If you fill your mind with distractions, negativity, and laziness, it will become weak. But if you train it through discipline, focus, and learning, it will become your greatest ally. Reading, meditation, physical exercise, and deliberate challenges all strengthen the mind, making it more resilient and focused. Just as a strong body is built through consistent effort, a strong mind is developed through daily practice. Each time you resist a distraction, push through discomfort, or control an emotional reaction, you strengthen your mental discipline. Over time, this discipline compounds, allowing you to remain focused and composed even in the face of adversity. Taking control of your mind also means letting go of what you cannot control. Many people waste energy worrying about things outside their power, other people's opinions, the past, the unpredictability of the future. But none of these things can be changed through worry. Instead of exhausting your mind on what is beyond your influence, focus on what you can control: your actions, your thoughts, and your attitude. The more you direct your energy toward what you can change, the more powerful your mind becomes. Ultimately, your mind determines the quality of your life. If you allow it to be controlled by distractions, fears, and impulses, you will remain trapped in a cycle of reactivity and regret. But if you train it to focus, to resist negativity, and to act with purpose, you will gain true freedom. Controlling your mind is not easy, but it is the path to strength, peace, and a life lived on your own terms. Waiting is the silent thief of time. It disguises itself as preparation, hesitation, or the search for the perfect moment, but in reality, it is nothing more than inaction. People convince themselves that they need to wait for the right circumstances, more confidence, or better resources before they can begin. But the truth is, waiting often leads to nothing. The more time spent waiting, the less time is spent living, creating, and achieving. Life does not wait. Time moves forward whether we act or not. The only way to make progress, to build something meaningful, or to grow into the person we want to become is to start now. Many people delay action because they fear failure. They convince themselves that they need more knowledge, more skills, or more certainty before they take the first step. But this is an illusion. No amount of thinking or planning can remove uncertainty. No one ever feels completely ready. The only way to gain clarity and experience is through action. Waiting for confidence is pointless because confidence is built through doing. Every great achievement, every skill, every transformation begins with an imperfect first step. Those who succeed are not necessarily the most prepared, but the ones who started despite their doubts. The longer we wait, the more we strengthen the habit of hesitation, and hesitation is the enemy of progress. Another reason people wait is the pursuit of perfection. They want the perfect conditions, the perfect plan, the perfect timing before they begin. But perfection is an illusion that keeps people stuck. There will never be a moment when everything aligns exactly as we want it to. There will always be challenges, uncertainties, and imperfections. Those who achieve great things understand that progress is more important than perfection. They start with what they have, where they are, and improve along the way. The pursuit of perfection is often just an excuse to avoid the discomfort of starting. It is easier to dream of perfection than to embrace the messiness of action. But the only way to learn, grow and refine our path is to begin. Procrastination is another form of waiting, disguised as temporary delay. Many people tell themselves they will start tomorrow, next week, or next year. They will write that book when they have more time. They will get in shape when they feel more motivated. They will pursue their dreams when they feel more secure. But tomorrow turns into next year, and next year turns into never. The habit of delaying action becomes a way of life, and before long, the opportunities that once existed are gone. The reality is there is no better time to start than now. Small steps taken today are worth more than grand plans for the future. Even imperfect effort is better than none at all. Fear of judgment also keeps many people waiting. They worry about what others will think if they fail, if they make mistakes, or if their efforts are not immediately successful. But waiting to be free of judgment is another form of wasting time. No matter what we do, there will always be opinions, critics and doubters. Living according to the fear of judgment means giving control of our lives to others. The only way to move forward is to accept that not everyone will approve, and that is perfectly fine. Those who truly matter will support us, and those who judge were never important to begin with. The opinions of others do not determine our success, our actions do. People also wait because they underestimate the power of small beginnings. They believe that if they cannot make a huge change immediately, their efforts are pointless. But every great accomplishment starts small. A book is written one page at a time. A strong body is built one workout at a time. A business is created one decision at a time. Waiting for the ability to make a massive change all at once leads to inaction, while taking small steps consistently leads to transformation. It is not about doing everything at once, but about starting something and staying committed to it. Time is passing, whether we take action or not. Every moment spent waiting is a moment that could have been used to build something, to improve, to create, to move forward. Regret does not come from starting too early, but from realizing too late that we should have started long ago. Those who take action, despite uncertainty and imperfection, are the ones who create lives of meaning. The decision to start now is the decision to take control of our lives rather than letting time slip away. Life is full of uncertainties, hardships, and circumstances that are beyond our control. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or try to shape events according to our desires, there will always be moments where things do not go as expected. People lose loved ones, relationships end, careers take unexpected turns, and the world moves in ways that do not always align with our wishes. In these moments, frustration, anger, and resistance often arise, leading to unnecessary suffering. The inability to accept what cannot be changed creates emotional turmoil, while acceptance brings clarity, peace, and the ability to move forward. Many people spend a great deal of time and energy resisting reality. They replay past mistakes, wishing they could rewrite history. They dwell on unfairness, believing that things should have turned out differently. They hold on to anger over events they cannot undo or worry excessively about an uncertain future. But no amount of frustration or wishing can alter what has already happened. Reality remains unchanged, regardless of how much we resist it. The only thing that changes is our state of mind. By refusing to accept what cannot be changed, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. It is not the situation itself that causes pain, but our resistance to it. The moment we accept reality, we free ourselves from this burden. Acceptance does not mean passivity or giving up. It does not mean we stop striving to improve or make the best of our circumstances. Rather, it means recognizing the difference between what is within our control and what is not. There are things we can influence: our actions, our mindset, our responses, but there are also things we cannot, such as the past, other people's choices, or natural events. When we focus on what we control and let go of what we cannot, we redirect our energy toward growth and progress, instead of frustration and resentment. Many people struggle with acceptance because they believe it means surrendering to injustice or weakness. But true strength lies in facing reality with courage and wisdom. Fighting against the unchangeable is like trying to stop the wind. It is an exhausting and futile battle. Instead, the wise course of action is to adjust, to adapt, and to find meaning even in difficult circumstances. Some of the strongest individuals in history did not achieve peace by controlling everything around them, but by mastering their own responses to adversity. They understood that life does not always conform to our desires, but that we always have the power to shape our perspective. One of the most difficult aspects of acceptance is dealing with loss. Whether it is the loss of a loved one, a relationship, an opportunity, or a stage of life, the pain of losing something meaningful can be overwhelming. In these moments, it is natural to wish things were different, to long for what was, and to resist the reality of change. But clinging to the past does not bring it back, it only prolongs suffering. True healing begins when we accept that loss is a natural part of life. Every ending creates space for something new, and even painful experiences can bring growth and wisdom. Acceptance does not erase pain, but it allows us to move through it instead of remaining trapped by it. Another challenge to acceptance is the desire for control. Many people struggle with uncertainty, fearing the unknown and wanting to dictate outcomes. They believe that if they try hard enough, they can force life to unfold exactly as they wish. But the world is unpredictable, and the more we try to control everything, the more frustrated we become when things do not go according to plan. Letting go of this need for control does not mean giving up on goals or aspirations. It means understanding that while we can influence certain things, we must also leave room for uncertainty. Learning to adapt rather than resist makes life far less stressful and far more fulfilling. Relationships also provide many opportunities to practice acceptance. No matter how much we care about someone, we cannot change them. Many people waste years trying to mold others into their ideal version, only to face disappointment. But people have their own paths, their own choices, and their own ways of being. Expecting others to change according to our wishes only leads to frustration. True acceptance in relationships means appreciating people as they are, rather than trying to force them to fit our expectations. It also means understanding that not every relationship is meant to last, and that sometimes the best thing we can do is let go. Acceptance also applies to personal shortcomings and past mistakes. Many people dwell on regrets, replaying their missteps and wishing they had done things differently. But no amount of guilt can undo the past. The only productive approach is to acknowledge mistakes, learn from them, and move forward with greater wisdom. Self-acceptance is just as important as accepting external circumstances. No one is perfect, and holding on to self-criticism only delays progress. Growth comes from recognizing where we can improve while also forgiving ourselves for being human. Life becomes much lighter when we stop carrying the burden of resistance. When we accept what cannot be changed, we gain the ability to focus on what we can change. We stop wasting energy on what is out of our hands and start directing it toward what is within our power. Acceptance does not mean liking or agreeing with everything that happens, but it does mean making peace with it. It means understanding that difficulties and changes are part of the human experience, and that fighting against them only creates suffering. By embracing acceptance, we gain clarity, resilience, and the ability to navigate life with greater ease. We learn to let go of unnecessary stress, to move forward with strength, and to find peace even in the face of uncertainty. Instead of being controlled by circumstances, we take charge of our own responses. Acceptance is not weakness, it is the foundation of true inner strength. Imagine waking up each morning knowing that this could be your last day. How would you spend it? Would you waste time worrying about things that do not matter? Would you hold grudges, dwell on the past, or hesitate to chase your dreams? Or would you embrace the day fully, appreciating every moment, expressing love freely, and living with purpose? Too often, people move through life as if they have an unlimited amount of time. They postpone their dreams, delay important conversations, and assume there will always be another chance. But time is the one resource that can never be replenished. To live fully, we must recognize the fleeting nature of life and make the most of each day. Most people live under the illusion that they will always have more time. They tell themselves they will start living the way they want once the conditions are right, once they have more money, once they feel ready, once the perfect opportunity arrives. But the truth is, there will never be a perfect time. Life is unpredictable, and no one is guaranteed tomorrow. The only time we truly have is the present moment. If we keep waiting for the right conditions, we may find that life has passed us by before we ever truly started living. The greatest regret of those who reach the end of their lives is not the mistakes they made, but the things they never did, the words they never spoke, and the chances they never took. Living as if each day is the last does not mean being reckless or irresponsible. It does not mean ignoring responsibilities or indulging in fleeting pleasures without thought for the future. Rather, it means being fully present, making intentional choices, and prioritizing what truly matters. It means not postponing joy, not waiting to express love, and not letting fear prevent action. It means recognizing that every moment is a gift, and that life is too short to be spent on things that do not add value, meaning, or purpose. One of the most powerful aspects of this mindset is how it changes our approach to relationships. If today were your last day, would you leave conflicts unresolved? Would you let pride keep you from telling someone you love them? Would you waste time on resentment and anger? So much time is lost holding grudges and waiting for others to make the first move. But when we realize that time is limited, we see how trivial these conflicts really are. We understand that the people in our lives will not always be here, and that every opportunity to express love, kindness, and gratitude should be seized. Living as if each day is the last means not leaving important words unspoken. It means appreciating the people around us and making sure they know how much they matter. This perspective also transforms the way we approach our goals and aspirations. Many people have dreams they never pursue because they believe they have endless time to do so. They wait for the right moment thinking they will start someday, but someday is not guaranteed. If there is something we want to do, whether it is writing a book, starting a business, learning a new skill, or traveling the world, the time to start is now. Even small steps toward our dreams are better than endless waiting. Living fully means taking action today, rather than assuming there will always be more time. Fear often holds people back from living fully. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside of comfort zones. But when we realize that our time is limited, these fears lose their power. If today were the last day, would failure really matter? Would the opinions of others still hold us back? Most of the things we fear become insignificant in the face of life's brevity. When we stop letting fear dictate our actions, we gain the freedom to pursue what truly matters to us. The reality is, failure is temporary, and the opinions of others are fleeting, but the regret of not trying lasts forever. Another essential part of living fully is appreciating the simple moments. In the rush of daily life, people often overlook the beauty of the present moment. They spend so much time thinking about the past or worrying about the future that they fail to enjoy what is happening right now. But if today were the last day, we would savor every detail: the warmth of the sun, the sound of laughter, the joy of a deep conversation. True happiness is found in these moments, not in distant achievements or future successes. When we start living as if time is precious, we begin to notice the small, beautiful things we once took for granted. Living each day as if it were the last also means making peace with the past. Many people carry regrets, guilt, or unresolved emotions that weigh them down. They replay past mistakes, wishing they could change them. But the past cannot be rewritten, only learned from. Holding on to regret only robs us of the present. To live fully, we must let go of what we cannot change and focus on what we can: our actions in this moment. Forgiving ourselves and others frees us to move forward with clarity and peace. There is also a deep sense of freedom that comes with accepting the impermanence of life. When we embrace the fact that nothing lasts forever, we stop clinging so tightly to things. We stop obsessing over material possessions, status, or external validation. We begin to prioritize experiences over possessions, meaning over superficial success, and inner fulfillment over outward appearances. We recognize that at the end of life, what truly matters is not how much we accumulated, but how much we lived, loved, and contributed. Ultimately, living as if each day were the last is about making the most of the time we have. It is about showing up fully, not postponing joy, and not waiting for a future that may never come. It is about being present in our relationships, taking action toward our dreams, and embracing life with courage and gratitude. When we adopt this mindset, we stop simply existing and start truly living. In the end, life is not measured by how many days we have, but by how well we lived each one. If today were truly our last, would we be proud of how we spent it? Would we have said what needed to be said, done what we always wanted to do, and embraced the people we love without hesitation? The time to live fully is not someday, it is now. Every moment is an opportunity to create, to love, to grow, and to make a difference. So let us not wait. Let us not waste another second on fear, regret, or hesitation. Instead, let us wake up each day with the determination to make it count. Because when our final day does come, whether it is soon or far away, we will know that we truly lived.